Hey everybody, Jeff Prather here of the Prather Point, back in my pickup, the Prather pickup, which for old timers will remember I used to do when I had internet problems. So I'm not going to be able to do a live show on Thursday. Sorry about that. There's just too many insurance adjusters coming. But quick update. And so this is a fire follow-up and intel update is if you're new, I had just had a new chimney and stone fireplace installed on Friday, and on Sunday, my wife Rachel was doing the sermon at ChristJobsy.com. Great sermon, and asked me to build a fire because it was cold. Built a fire, a couple hours. It was fine during service. Then about 11:20, 11:30, we noticed smoke outside, not inside the house, but outside. Went out and saw the back of the chimney, which was not stone, but cement board the contractor left undone, was smoking real badly, and then flames erupted. So we're all safe. We got out. It was really the perfect time for the fire. There wasn't any wind. It wasn't the middle of the night. The smoke was outside. So we all got out, called the fire department. I got the hose going. Fire department. Two fire departments showed up. We know them really well. We got a lot of precious items out, but the chimney then got the roof, and then the roof went up and the attic went up. And I guided the firemen up there, told them there's two ways to get into the attic, and they chose the one furthest from the chimney fire, because there was smoke and no hard feelings there at all. And the contractor came over as well and still claims that, that he put in cement board. We'll see about that. But our wonderful neighbors just showed up uncalled and just started helping and actually going in and passing stuff out and organizing, all of them. And people we didn't even know showed up, stopped, more distant neighbors, and stayed the whole day. One couple, Dakota and Brooke, had their kids in the truck all day. I didn't even know. I felt bad about that. Didn't even know them. They just helped out, all day because they're great Christians. And so we live in the best. We've moved to the best place we could. Our neighbors are fabulous. We love them to death. They've been checking on us since the fire. They went and bought bins, and we got a lot of items out. So the girls were a little upset. Anna Lee, is the younger, and she cried a bit, but they all have been pitching in incredibly well. And of course, we've continued to pray and have faith. And since Sunday till yesterday, we were kind of working around the clock. And Tuesday night, they had because things were finally getting under control, they had a good little cry, which was fine. So, I hugged them and read to them the John Ringo Live Free or Die book. So I don't think John watches this, but he did respond to me on X a while back when I was talking about him on a reel. So maybe if Chris makes a reel about this part, he'll respond. I'd love to interview him. He said he'd love to interview me, but hasn't responded. But anyway, we've been just recovering what we could. And there's a lot of toxic, smoke damage in there. So we've masked up, N95 mask, real uses for masks, gloved up. Rachel has a little bit of a cough. So we consulted with our doctor there at Meehan, Terry Lakin, great guy, former military who was set up because he wouldn't take the jab. I've had him on the show. And Mrs. Meehan, of course, Doc Meehan has passed. But we're doing really well because we have a guest house real near the property. So we just moved in there. Our renter had moved out. a while back, and we've actually had guests who follow the show, like Craig and Lori, who provide the coffee. Um, brought their 6 or 7 girls and stayed with us for a weekend, and so it's tight, but we are fine. Um, and we will rebuild, and we are resilient because we have faith, and we are focused on that. So that's what's happening. The insurance company is USAA, and traditionally they're really good. I know Clay Martin had problems with them. They seem to be fabulous. They seem to be like they used to be in the old days, just the bomb, the best. So it's going really well, and I want to thank everybody for their prayers and for their texts and emails and calls and signals. They just are nonstop everywhere. Even some people who have betrayed me have ended up reaching out as well. So, and it's brought us closer to God, closer to each other, because there's no internet at the guest house. So that's why I'm back in my pickup at a spot where I can get good bars and do a hotspot and record this. I'll try and get something live next week so I can talk with you. But I think the first time I did Sean's SGT, I think it was in my pickup. And so, he was happy with it. I got a new intro, a major meme Prather poet. Somebody was talking about they went to some of John Lovell's classes. I'm like, I'm the real warrior poet, not him. Oh yeah, somebody who's attending HMAC because they're a Point Patriot. So just asking for your prayers, asking for your patience. And if you are a patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather patron, whether it's at the 5, 15, or 25, I would ask you to have patience. I got a little bit of content out today. I'll get more. Point Patriots, I know you haven't been getting your daily training videos, but working on that. We've got them lined up. It's just a matter of finding the time to get them published and get the connections. And my girls have been working so hard, and so yesterday afternoon, after Tuesday night's cry, we gave them most of the day off to. Of course, they still had to feed all the animals, the goats, and they had to milk a goat. That was overfull, and the horses and the chicken died, and the cats and the dog. So they still got to do their chores, but let them, ride bikes and play a little bit. They were playing with their stuffed animals, and we found out that the smoke infiltrates and the toxic stuff infiltrates. So had to box those up. That was another little trauma for them because they're real attached to those, and some of those are heirlooms at all. But we're getting it under control. And thanks so much. And if you're a Locals member at jeffreyprather.locals.com, then please, I ask you to keep your Locals membership. If you're not any of those and you want to help out besides prayer, then jeffreyprather.com, and you support the show and donate there. But, we're not needy. We're blessed that, I do quite well. Of course, the podcast is free, but I do competitive intelligence consulting since 2014, since Warrior School really died out. And I was able to even to get my competitive intelligence work done. So everything's going. We don't need anybody to come right now. A lot of people have been saying, hey, I'll get on a plane tomorrow. Maybe later, but not yet. We are going to have to rebuild and restore. The roof is gone. The floors are gone. The furniture is gone. But the walls, which are brick, look like they are okay. We haven't got the final report yet, but that's what it's looking like. There's a USA Army vet that came out and looked at it. cause of the fire. They'll investigate that, but it's clearly, you know, that the contractor used substandard material there, the cement board. But he is cooperating, and we'll see about that. So sorry we're not live to talk to you about it more, but we're doing well. Rachel has a little bit of cough. We're monitoring that. The girls are really strong, and that's kind of where we're at with the fire. And thanks for all the calls, emails, texts, everything. But yeah, it was catastrophic, But my my wife and my girls, they always leave notes around for each other and for me everywhere, saying I love you, you're a super dad. And last night we ordered pizza because my wife, we're working around the clock to just take care of stuff. And I'm like, you don't have to cook, order pizza. So we ordered pizza, had pizza for lunch. They were gone. I opened the pizza box up. On the front of the pizza box was all these notes. I love you, super dad. Great job from, Rachel, Annalie, and Isabel. So, keeping my morale up as I strive to keep their morale up. So just how sweet they are, so that's what's happening with that. So that's the fire follow-up, and I'll keep you informed, and maybe next week we'll be able to be live here, so you can ask me anything you want about that. The Intel update is I did get a chance to, look a little bit at what's going on, not in depth like I like to. If you don't know, every 1 hour show is 4 to 5 hours of prep, of where I'm looking and analyzing, assessing. I have some great folks that send me stuff from TA and from Iron Squirrel and from Cindy and all kinds of other sources, and evaluating that stuff and putting together. It's kind of like what we used to do when I was at DIA, the early bird report that gets part into the president's daily brief. Except now I'm America's intelligence officer, so I'm giving you guys a daily brief. And yes, I was doing it 5 days a week. That was way too much work, and I'm happy with doing 2 shows. And maybe a couple guest appearances. I was supposed to do a guest appearance today. Had to cancel that. But a couple things, the JFK files came out. They're not complete, and they won't be ever. I saw where some people are saying those aren't the real files. The real files were destroyed. These are fake files. These are real files. To take the time to redate and do all this stuff, the government's too lazy to do that in the first place. So they're the real files. Are they all the files? No, they're certainly not. And somebody pointed out, that the first meeting between the new POTUS, President of the United States, Lyndon Johnson, and the CIA director is not out. It's not going to be out. Those are privileged executive conversations, and they're classified. It's not coming out, not particularly important. But there are a lot of really telling things. There was a CIA case officer named Underhill who said, hey, the CIA did it. And then he was suicided 1 month later. Of course, that's no news to anybody who's awake. Oliver Stone, everybody who's really researched this. And they finally got rid of the crazy one bullet theory. But again, that's just the script. Now, years ago, when I was more naive and less informed and aware of how corrupt our government was, I thought it was Castro with Russia backing who killed him, because Kennedy was trying to take back Cuba. My karate sensei was Army, and he was asked to go train the rebels that were going to take back the government that they then betrayed. He didn't do it. He was too smart for that. But if you read between the lines, it becomes very clear who did it, because there's a Sergei Zonarov, Sergei Zonarov, I think, who was basically a Soviet spy in California, implanted. And there's lots of those. They stay in place. There's been TV shows about them where they're just living their lives, going along until activated, and they cultivate their sources. And he obviously was probably recruited by CIA, and there's a letter there that says, "I was told by the Soviet consular." It's a letter, I believe, to Russian authorities, Soviet authorities, and he was told by a Soviet sub-authority to tell the United States government what he knew. Okay, and so this is an in-place sleeper spy who's running sources in America who came on this information. And his information was that a month or so before that JFK was going to be killed by Oswald, and Martin Luther King was going to be killed as well. So how would he know that? Well, because he was a spy, he was certainly, it doesn't say this, but I'm inferring this because this is my world, or was my world, is he was in with the intelligence agencies. So the important point to understand about this is, and this is even in a Gateway Pundit story. I mean, Gateway Pundit, American Christian Zionist, and a very, I guess, sincere but shallow view is the Russian government told their Russian asset in America to warn the U.S. government that Oswald was going to assassinate Kennedy, and somebody was also going to assassinate Martin Luther King a month or a couple of months beforehand. And how would he know that is because he was being sourced by the Russians, but he was also being sourced by the American intelligence. So he was given intelligence and he was getting intelligence, and that's how it works. That's how it's done. So what does that mean? Well, what you need to infer here is that if the Russians were going to kill Kennedy, and Oswald was clearly a spy and a Russian spy and went to the Mexican embassy. Everybody knows all this. This is not new. They would not have told the U.S. government ahead of time. So was he a Russian spy? Yes. But because the Russians told the Americans that Oswald was going to do this ahead of time, they were obviously trying to forestall it. So you have to read into the documents of what's going on. So then who does that leave? Well, because it leaves the CIA. Why? Well, it also says in there that the CIA was following Oswald and had eyes on, 6 months ahead of time. So there's always this interaction with the deep state intelligence community. And if you read between the lines and you know what you're talking about, it's clear Oliver Stone was right. All the conspiracy guys are right. It's the CIA and the intelligence community that killed JFK. And so, I hope that, makes sense to everybody, and they can follow that. And that's just what I gleaned from, quickly looking at Gateway Pundit, because I don't have much time to look at anything right now. But that is good confirmation. All the documentation will never come out. You're not going to find a document that says we're the CIA and we killed Kennedy. It would never, because it was never written. They wouldn't be done that way. It would be, a conversation between the right people saying, it sure would be nice if someone killed Kennedy. And G. Gordon Liddy was real good at this. G. Gordon Liddy just, yes, sir, and then move off to run the covert operation. You can even see this in movies like Clear and Present Danger, Harrison Ford. Are we authorized to do this? No, he can't authorize to do this. That is my take on that for now. And I'll follow up with that, but that's just the initial stuff. But, it's being released, and that's good. That's really important that that's happening. Beyond that, it is the spring equinox. This would be when I would be doing a pipe ceremony, because I've been ordained by the late Dakota elder, a Chanupa Wachasa, a pipe man, to pray with the Chanupa. So that is a way. It's just Indian tobacco, kinnick, but it's a way to pray to the Great Spirit. The pipe is held vertically, so it's aligning with the Osetek Sakawan, the 7 campfires, or the vortexes, or the chakras, and you're emptying out. And it's a great way to pray. Haven't done it a couple of years since we've been out here, because I got nobody to smoke with, but I would have done it today. I could have even put up the teepee, but obviously teepee isn't going up. Chanupa is actually going to go get, cleaned, ozone cleaned, I guess, because its brain tan had a nice smoke flavor, because the grandmothers had made the pipe case and beaded it, especially for me. Brain tan has a great smoked smell to it, because if it's smoked, then it'll return to its pliable self. If it's not smoked, then it'll if you got water on non-brain tan buckskin, smoked buckskin, then it won't. So that's going along with a lot of other things. My beaded rifle cases, my Tatsa, Apache baskets. But anyway, I thought I would mention that, because this is the Chanchasha Upuye dried willow time of the constellations in the Pahasapa in the Black Hills, where the skies, the stars align with the Black Hills. And in English, it's called Devil's Butte. It's called Bear Butte, and Three Sisters in Dakota, depending upon the time. And that's when they would go into the Black Hills and hunt and get teepee poles. And they've never settled for the $2 billion or whatever they're supposed to get for Black Hills. They want the Black Hills back, because it's sacred, just like Israel wants the land as well. So that's something to be aware of. And I mentioned that in particular because, there was a lot of signs from God in this. But one, we went back into the house last night, just Rachel and I, because she had to get some documents. I wanted to get them. I'm like, going into a place and getting documents, that's what I actually do. She goes, oh, these are very specific. I'm like, yeah, but I can do this. But, masked up and everything. Went in, and while she was getting the documents, she missed it, but sitting on the floor was a sacred object box that had disappeared since we have been here. And it had clearly fallen through the collapsed roof to be right in front of me. And so for the Indians, or for the initiates, warriors who know what I'm talking about, because for certain ceremonies like the Na'iyas, the sunrise ceremony, now it is happening. There are certain authentic things that you need to have. And we didn't have those anymore. And so, the sign is, okay, well, you're not going to do those ceremonies anymore. And looks like my 50-year-old doesn't want to do that ceremony. We don't really have enough mountain spirit crown dancers anymore. Anyway, our ranks are so decimated of the warriors. But there right in front of us was the sacred object box that had disappeared and I could not find. That was clear, and Rachel was just blown away by that. I've seen a lot of wild stuff from being with Philip Casador, my Apache elder, and with Hatsumi Sensei, and then I've shown a lot of stuff. But that was quite the sign to experience that, and so that was a reinforcement from God. Is, hey, you're still going to need this. Here it is, and it was pretty wild. And on Saturday, the day before, I'd gone riding on Red, and I know some of you want to see Red, my new paint, medicine hat paint, white and red. And I was riding with Anna Lee. We had a nice ride and did some filming. So I got some horsemanship stuff ready to go. It's just a matter of getting it out. But I got to do Makate, red and white Makate, horsehair Makate, got a kangaroo bozal. So the Hakima, the Hackamore setup is real nice. And he's just gentle and smooth and tight and easy, which is what I need, at my age. So that we will get that to you. It's just taken a while to make that happen and figure that out. There's the Mihen stuff I was talking about as well. And there also too is the coffee stuff that's Stay Brewed, and Craig and Lori found out like, hey, more coffee on the way, which is great because we run out at the end of the month and then we got to use regular coffee. And don't ever get that Black Rifle crap. First of all, they're draggies and they hung out Rittenhouse to dry. And secondly, their coffee's terrible. Ranger Oath is leave no man behind, but it's okay to leave Rittenhouse behind. But that's what's happening. Another important thing is the corrupt leftist judges within 60 days have filed 129 lawsuits. So they are deeply into lawfare, which is very interesting because, of course, they could be going kinetic. ICE's dragging Trend Aragua guys out through car windows, doing their job again. So the lawfare is a big aspect. And I guess I thought I wrote this down, but I guess I forgot when I rewrote my notes, is Trump made a statement, I think when he got hit in the head with the boom mic from the NPR reporter chick that's now disappeared. It's just funny. He just kind of went, okay, now you've shot my ear. Now you've hit me in the head with a boom mic. Anyway, he said that, FBI wanted a big new headquarters. It would be bigger than the Pentagon, but they wanted it at this new site, and we're not going to do it at the new site. We're going to do it at the old site. That is somewhat disappointing. I got to say, is the FBI should not be getting a new headquarters, and it shouldn't be bigger. It should be a lot smaller. It should be in some basement. I think the FBI and the CIA should be demolished. They're too corrupt. It's not the SESs. It's not the Special Executive Service. It's not the SAC, Special Agent in Charge. And the ASACs, Assistant Special Agent in Charge. It is right down to the rank and file. They are so corrupt. We've been over this many times. But Trump, I guess, still thinks that it can be reformed. The first time, he lost, he said he still had faith in these institutions. Well, I have faith in God. and I have faith in the Constitution and the founders, the way they wrote the Constitution. But the FBI and the CIA was not around for even the founding of the Constitution and the country. So they aren't really part of it. And I think one of the things the founders overlooked was that they didn't foresee the mobility of people. At the Constitutional Convention, everybody really thought of themselves with their colonies, the Virginia, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. They did not think of themselves at all as Americans. And by the Civil War, Lee, when Lincoln asked Lee to head up the Northern Army, Lee said, "No, I'm a Virginian first." Still, that faded with the creeping of the federalization of America, the National Guard as opposed to the state's militia, all of that. But now what's happening is, and we see it with my girls, I traveled the world and tell them about all the places I've been, and they haven't gone a lot of places, and they don't want to go a lot of places because it's too difficult, it's too dangerous. Air travel is a mess. Flying, put your weapons in your suitcases is as difficult as possible. So what's going to happen is now you got to have the star on your license plate, unless you're using your passport. It's a white star on a yellow background. It's not a yellow star, but it's close enough. So what's going to happen is people are going to stop traveling as much because they want it to be for the elite only. What does that mean? That means these coming generations will identify with their regions or with their states again. So we'll go back to the way it was. And that's important as we devolve, because the American empire is fading. The American Republic is not restored, but it is beginning to be restored. Oklahoma is the first state to put Holy Bibles back in public classrooms. That's essential. The first Holy Bible was published by Congress for use in public schools for morals and for grammar and syntax, because the sentences in the Bible are deep, just like the content, and they are profound. All you got to do is look at Washington's speeches, you look at Lincoln's speeches, you're like, oh, that sounds like biblical scripture. So you cannot have a republic. We will never restore a republic if we aren't a virtuous nation. We are on our way to returning to a virtuous nation via our virtues. Our virtues come from our national ethics. Our national ethics come from our morals. Our morals come from our spiritual and religious bases. And what I say the essentials are the Mosaic, not Judaism, and certainly not Talmudism, which is rabbinic corrupted commentary on the Torah or the Old Testament or the Tanakh, the five books of Moses, plus the law and commentaries. But really, the whole thing is really Mosaic law. So our Mosaic law is, I'm the Lord your God who freed you, out of Egypt, but freed everybody. No other gods before me. Don't take my name in vain. Keep the Sabbath holy. Honor your mother and father. Don't steal. Don't murder. Don't bear false witness. Don't covet anything of your neighbors. I think I got all those right. Might have forgot something. You guys will let me know if I did. Then, of course, the centerpiece and the greatest truth is Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus as the Christ. The fulfillment of Torah is his two new Christic commandments, which also come from the Torah. Love your neighbor. Love God with your whole heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then the two Autochthonous, indigenous commandments or laws, because we are here on indigenous land. And the way you fish here is the way everybody's fished forever. So the way you pray here should be the way they prayed forever. And that is never harm children, and everything is born of woman. Particularly important right now as they want to continue to kill babies and enshrine it in law, and also pretend that everything is not born of woman. So if you put those three things together, the mosaic, the Christic as the centerpiece, and the Autochthonous as the other bookend, that's what you get. What I say is American exceptionalism, our exceptional love of life and freedom. We love life and freedom so much that we'll fight, kill, and die for it. We love life and freedom so much that we'll send our sons and daughters out to foreign lands and fight, kill, and die for it. And if we win, when we win, and we always win if we are unleashed, because the world has never seen the like of the American warrior soldier, really, because, an aside, soldiers always defeat warriors. Organized soldiers, masses of soldiers acting as one, always defeat individual warriors. But everybody talks about the warrior ethos. Military doesn't even have a definition for a warrior. I proposed one, published it on Sophex years ago. And it was based upon Mosaic, Christic, and Autochthonous, American exceptionalism. But what makes us really exceptional is after we are unleashed and we win, and we always win when we're unleashed, is we give that country back, and nobody in the history of the world has done that except us. So, that is going back to Trump saying, we're not going to build him a new, bigger headquarters over here. We're going to build him a new, bigger headquarters right here. Well, that is really really a mistake in believing in these institutions. Again, that you've got to have the FBI. No, you don't. You got to have the CIA. No, you don't. Washington didn't have them. Lincoln didn't have them. Now, Washington did have an extensive intelligence network. The Culpeper group, and he was even so involved, he had his own designator, Agent 711. But he ran that personally. And I always make this point, is even Reagan is not Washington. He ran it personally so it would not get out of control. So he took personal responsibility for it. It was very effective intelligence, very effective psychological operations. A big part of winning the war, besides that he would hit his knees and ask for divine providence, and had chaplains the second day of Congress, and had chaplains for the Continental Army, which was soldiers fighting for a country that did not yet exist. So I love that I'm one of those. That's my soldier heritage as a senior service. It's not the Marines. We're like a month before the Marines, before everybody else, by the way. But the point is here, the intelligence was transitory and it was personally run. Reagan delegated his covert ops off to guys like Ollie North, who let that get out of control, and grew the Clinton cartel of death through Contra, CIA, cash, cocaine, and later Iran. If you watch the Tom Cruise movie, when the whole thing blows up, then the CIA case officer comes back and goes, Iran, we'll do it again, which sounds exactly like crooks. And, it's Iran trying to assassinate Trump, when it's clearly the CIA. So I know I'm a little bit rambling. Apologize for that. Don't have a lot of notes, don't have time for a lot of notes. Certainly don't have 4 to 5 hours to devote like I normally do. But I hope you're, getting my drift here and enjoying my stream of consciousness of what's going on. Big mistake on Trump's part. He's already obviously total Zionist, American Christian Zionist, total cabinet is. Unfortunately, that's the big thing. Big Pharma looks bad too. But we got RFK, looking to rein that in pretty well. But another big mistake, very serious mistake, is after everything the FBI has done to him and us, the FISA violations, the FARA violations, Russiagate, all the lies, the spying on Congress, is Trump says, yeah, we're going to build him a headquarters right here. So why? I guess because he believes in these institutions. And it's not like they haven't used every card they could against him already. But it's a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake to do that, unless he's going to bug them. That'd be good, I guess. Maybe that's it. But he doesn't seem to be very proficient at espionage operations as well. And it's real hard to, and that's another problem with guys like that is, well, they're working for you, but who else are they working for at the same time? Which is, again, really why, going back to Washington, it was a military intelligence organization. The OSS it was military intelligence. And why is it always military? I was DIA, which is Defense Intelligence Agency, which is military intelligence. Protect the nation, provide intelligence to protect the nation, where CIA is provide the president intelligence information. Well, that just helps build up, a Praetorian guard. But the military, we take, an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And there's a tradition of selfless service there, where with a civilian, I can tell you, having worked in these environments, there's a stark difference from that. He doesn't seem to get that at all. And, Patel seems too busy with too many press conferences. Yeah, there's good things happening, but I don't think they're getting deep enough, to really what's going on. Don't hear anything really about what Michael Yon has exposed to Darien as well. But, still a lot of good things happening. Shots fired outside CIA headquarters. So what? There's that gate I've been through that gate. It's very far from anything. That's a dangle. There's shots fired all the time. There's a range there. Camp Perry. There's parachuting there. At least they used to, in my day. So, that is a total dangle, I guess, kind of coincides with the CIA did it, JFK files coming out. Pretty, silly dangle, but maybe that's all they got left, which is not a bad thing. So that's what's going on. I will hopefully get back to you live next week. Sorry I'm not live with you today, but it's a full day with inspectors. And really appreciate all of your prayers and patience. And we don't need anybody to show up right now, but if you want to, continue to donate, we'd appreciate that. But if you can't afford to do that, don't worry about that. Just really appreciate your prayers. The last thing I'd say is I looked, a lot of ceilings caved in. I looked over my wife and I's bed, ceiling's fine. Looked over my kids' beds, they're fine. And then finding that sacred object box, really reassured me. God said, you're going to be fine, which I already knew because I've been through these crises before. But, the first time I went through it was back when nobody believed me. The second time I went through it, people came out of the woodwork I'd forgotten. And now the third time, it's even more amazing and more support. So thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Prayers and patience, please